Begins the Europe Summer Playoffs. From the southern tip of Africa to cities in northern Europe, 15,000 kilometers away, 24 different countries have lit hearths to welcome an elite field of 78 players. After months of qualifying, Europe's most worthy players are going through their last-minute strategies and selecting their opening decks. At stake, 4 golden tickets to the Summer Championships in Los Angeles, and for many, the last chance to keep their World Championship dream alive. To kick off the action,
it really hit the ground running. It was a little bit slow, as the other commentators on the analyst desk said, in the spring season. Did not quite make it, but he wants to make it back. He's talked about how he wants to make the perhaps unchallengeable feat of being back-to-back world champion a reality.
Yeah, just about a month and a half ago, I got a chance to sit down and talk with Pavel just one-on-one and ask him about how he felt like his time in Hearthstone has been ever since winning the World Championship and qualifying for Winter. And he said he just needed a break. He said it felt like he pushed super hard to prove himself that BlizzCon win wasn't a fluke, that becoming a World Championship wasn't a one and done. So he won a tournament. One of those cards that has nerfed passively a lot of those mage random spell generations. That's going to be game 1 to Pavel, and what a huge blow it was to Sandstorm, because as you mentioned multiple times, Kibble, at the very beginning of the series, he needs to beat Jade Druid. That's what most of his deck and lineup is oriented around.
I'm not sure that's necessarily true in this matchup. I think that broadly speaking, the deck that he's trying to beat is Jade Druid, a big part of the reason he's playing all aggro decks. In this matchup, though, I think Pavel's handlock may still struggle.
Okay, well, I mean, the handlock deck is still not really truly tested. I think a lot of people put a lot of lists out there with control handlock, and it's a little awkward to see all the results kind of piled into one deck. People don't know how to call it.
Of handlock, and it does have a lot of problems winning those long games, in large part thanks to getting punched in the face by Malfurion repeatedly. But it does have some powerful tools. We see Pavel with the pair of Mountain Giants in his hand. That's why he chose not to just play one of his 1-drops turn 1. His plan is to life tap this turn and play a 1-drop this turn to ensure that he has those discounted Giants. But here he's facing down a pretty aggressive draw from Silent Storm. This is what Silent Storm was looking for last game, the Mana Worm into Arcanologist draw. That really puts on a lot of pressure quickly, and that could be a problem for Pavel if he
Spellbender, something along those lines, but it is going to be the mana bind. So Tyson's going to get a copy of Brawl. Brawl actually could help quite a bit for N'Zoth board later on in the game. N'Zoth, it really won't bring back too many Death Rattle minions that'll play around the Brawl a little bit. Alex Straw's picked up. I mean, at this point, it's just an 8/8 that deals 8 damage to your opponent.
I think the big one here is that Tice actually snagged initiative with this turn.
Yeah.
The Water Elemental living through the Brawl, I think was a really big deal here. If he had kept his weaker minion or had Casey won the Brawl, we'd be looking at a very different scenario, but suddenly there is some pressure mounting.
Yeah, still a long way to go.
He knows that Brawl is in Tice's hand. It's to force him to not only Brawl, but to Brawl when he's got a lot of presence as well.
Yeah. And I think that's the key decision marker there. As he draws Karen, you'd think, well, maybe he wants to try and, get a little bit more value of that N'Zoth and try and hold on one more turn before he goes with it, play the Karen. But he knows that there's still a polymorph left in Tice's deck. He's been through a lot of his deck, so he probably has one at that point. Been holding on to a lot of dead cards. So he says, you know what, I'm not going to waste a turn, play my...
It helps that Casey just played like a master too. He's like, oh, got the N'Zoth.
10 cards was off.
Yeah, shuffle 6 fishes, I don't care. Zero aggression available for Casey.
Yeah, none. I mean, he doesn't even have a playable card until turn 3 effectively with Acolyte of Pain. A card that you can just, sort of play down on an empty board. He does have one of those in his opening hand. He's going to be able to draw some cards, but if he chooses to do that, it would be at the expense of allowing his opponent to draw cards as well. Woo! So he's going to throw down the Devolve, and Millhouse Mana Storm pops out.
Yeah, he's pull off the mask.
Ha! You thought I was an acolyte of pain the whole time.
Now he's hitting you for 4.
Yeah.
You don't even get to play spells for free.
He's got the Jade Lightning to follow it up. I mean, the name of the game for this deck is very situational in effect, where 6 mana is usually has a lot more just like bodies of stats. I feel 7 mana does have bodies of stats as well, but it also has cards that can throw some wrenches into your plans. You just want to see War Golems all the way across the board. Maybe a Baron Geddon if you're really in a pinch.
Couple of Indians. Oh, that is not one of the good 6s, though.
That is the worst 6, arguably.
That is very unfortunate for Tice. That for Tice to land a big Bloodlust.
23 damage, I count. If Devolve comes down and doesn't hit another taunt minion on one of these.
Very wise choice of Casey to play this way. This really eliminated the possibility of Devolve into Bloodlust.
Oh!
But how about a Felguard protecting the rest of your board? That Hexer just became bigger than it was before.
More stats. And it's buffed by the Raid Leader as well. I guess either way he would have had to push through with just about the same amount of damage. I guess he could have pushed with Wrathion into the Voodoo Hexer and
instead of the Shiv. You look at the patches rocketing out of the deck from the Bloodsail Corsair. It doesn't kill a minion at this point. That means that Tice is going to be limited on his board development as well. And so as Casey moves to his Gadget and Auctioneer turn, he Mimic Pods into a pair of hallucinations as well. And as we all know, Shaman cards operate very well against Shaman in particular. And Tice just drew patches to compound this issue even more. Things are starting to look very dangerous for Tice in round 1.
Oh yeah, I mean, if you can remove the early board from Shaman, as we talked about, it's hard for them to get back in the game outside of those swing turns with Evolve. Have any sort of impact.
3 Wickerflame Burn Bristles.
3 Wickerflame Burn Bristles might do it. Well, there's 1. Close. But Tice is going to fall, and Casey will move on 1-0 after round number 1 of the Swiss.
Big opening for Casey in this one as he now starts his road to another championship. But Tice, that is rough for him. He needs to win just about the next 5 rounds to have a strong position to make top 8. And this is the final season.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about it a lot, both in the intro and leading into this series, but with the dramatically different meta as we see in this tournament than we see from your average ladder game, Priest is the big shining star. It's the deck that a lot of people are really, really looking at. It wasn't really given a huge amount of respect maybe week 1 of the expansion, but suddenly creeping through to week 2, different builds started appearing. RDU started putting in a lot of work with a deck very similar to what we've ended up with here with the Prophet Velen version. Amusingly, Radu himself isn't bringing the Prophet Velen version to this tournament, even though he played it a ton on stream and had great success with it. But these builds and the Spike Rich Steed, not going to be the case here though for Pakrvok.
Yeah, and Yarla not only has the Shadow Reaper Andrin already in his hand to build up to, but also Lyra. Lyra is a very powerful tool in these and-win decks because you can just generate so many more resources that you can then use with your Void Spike later in the game to just sort of explode with damage.
Well, things are slowing down, and Harlow's going to eventually be able to have enough mana to get a lot of use out of this Lyra and Shadow Reaper Anduin. As looks like not really much going on here.
Seeing what the minions are makes a big deal, and another very brilliant play on the other side of Hoy. Putting 1 damage into the Akanai Soul Priest means that if Pakrvok wants to use his hero power, he can't direct the damage as necessary from that hero power afterwards. And if he circle healings first, it means he loses Akanai, but 2 Lyras picked up from the Ngoro pack. That is a lot of gas.
He has 3 Lyras in his hand right now.
That's too many Lyras.
That's 3 many Lyras.
He's been fighting to simply get the right board position at the right time. The first misstep from PokerVoc is when Hoy is going to look to turn that heat up. In the meantime, he's just trying to make better and better board positions. And that's a big one to pick up off Cabal Tracker. That's incredible. Not something you expect to see.
That is the exact kind of recurring pressure that Hoy needs.
What? The problem with it is that it's competing with the Thrall as well. Like, if he wants the Thrall hero power, or if he wants...
All these little suckers are going to get damaged. Oh, just one gets damaged.
Yeah, it's the minions you play, not summon. And
this
is the turn of truth. Fairly mediocre.
Yeah. Double Don Honcho.
He needed Death Rattle minions that would survive presence here. Given that PokerVoc just used Curator and fetched up the Primordial Drake, he does have an activator for his equality. So this turn missing is a big hit to Hoy.
And that'll probably be all she wrote, with Hoy just having a Devolve and a Bloodlust in hand. Doesn't even have totems. Doesn't even have a minion to activate that Thrall hero power. And a second Devolve. And you can make that Primordial Drake a 6-mana minion.
Notice that Bloodlusts are stranded in Hoy's hand. Or does it?
Well, he also still needs a spell power. So he gets spell power. He nailed it. Now he needs to dodge taunts. Nailed that as well.
Is Hoy turning the series around? Game 1 for Hoy now, as we head into our 4th game of the set. And that is a big win against the Warlock.
He squeaked it out, but when you get your opponent that low, it's likely that you take the win unless the Ghoul... Good sequencing from Hoy if he's going to play Arcane Intellect this turn. Wants to thin his deck of a secret, so he's more likely to draw burn. And Fireball and a Medivh Valet is more burn. PokerVoc is dead. D-E-D, dead.
Hey, he's in a heap of trouble. I don't believe he lives past his turn because of the Fireball that Hoy picked up either, even if he drew Blood Reaver Gul'dan at this stage.
It wouldn't be enough. You go up to 12. Hoy has 12 damage in hand.
This stage of the match. We've seen a lot of the decks trim that card out because outside of comboing with Shadow Reaper Anduin, it is a fairly ineffective card. But here, it could cost Hoy severely not having that extra push.
Yeah, also it could sort of bluff PokerVoc and force him to play more minions. Like Hoy, again, I think he still just needs to wait until he has more cards to be able to play. He can go now that he has a Shadow Word Pain target, now that he's drawing a Galactic Crawler, but I still think it's better to wait to the last possible moment to use it.
Can he buy
work done, but already this Iron needs to be dealt with at some point. It looks like it's going to be calling Valspine onto one of the minions. I mean, I guess it just doesn't matter. Honestly, it's just, Question's already threatened, and that's just going to be a give up. That's it. It was just too far behind. I genuinely feel like in this matchup, Rogue needs an early Van Cleef and to just go. Like, just pile on the pressure, or at least, reduce down the ramp into the big Jades. But that takes enough time. Right. Van Cleef can make it.
Yeah, I mean, you can go early Van Cleef. You can also, all the way back in the pre-show, was it 88% of people brought Jade Druid, and I was expecting somewhere around 88% of those people to have Jade Druid banned. Serious mode, like, I thought we'd maybe see one Jade Druid on stream the whole of today. We've seen it twice.
Just on stream.
Just on stream, and we are less than halfway through. We're just coming up to halfway through the broadcast. Like, I have zero faith that leaving Druid up is the right strategy, and so far the results of the players who are trying to do that are bearing fruit.
Yeah, I think it's a very bold strategy. It's one of those things where if it works, wow, it'll work. You'll clean up if you hit that hard with a strategy.
If someone got through top 4,
Impact it's had in this game already.
And now just playing your huge 8/8 idiot Taunt into an
Whoa.
existing Flame Tongue.
Surprised if you get away with calling the Lich King an 8/8 idiot.
Well, I just tried. We'll see what happens.
He does something. He can't be an idiot.
That's fair. No, that
Yeah.
is fair. But yeah, playing it into a Flame Tongue board is not a fantastic
Okay.
feeling. What is a fantastic feeling, however, is picking up Death and Decay
It's like-
when you are completely out of board clears
like-
in your hand.
Who's an idiot now, Sol?
I mean,
He's an idiot now.
I was just rooting for Nixlay. I just wanted to fire up the Lich King, so he proved me wrong.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
100% bias.
Death and Decay combined with Ghoul. Not that he needs Ghoul right now, but I thought you'd like that.
Made my day.
I thought he would. Bloodlust. Plays the minion off, but it's just constant threats of this Ragnarok's hero power going down. Best Dude AU probably thinks he's in a very good spot, actually. Because, again, you know, if he's on 10 health for next turn, he may as well be
there's
even
that,
higher.
There's that Jiraxxus I was talking about. Sorry to interrupt you,
no,
but
I'll let you
those
off.
are exactly the minions that he's looking for. He needs things that can potentially tank a hit from the hero power. Because even if this game plays out turn by turn, where the hero power never hits him in the face, it just hits a minion every turn. And I think Nixlay's got a very, very strong advantage in this position. I can't see too many draws.
He has lethal over
That
10.
dig Best Udyr out over. Exactly. He needs to end the game quickly. Devolve is not going to do the job. He needs to be able to trade into a 7-drop and clear it out from the board here. It seems unlikely.
Let's see what we get from Devolve. I was just going to mention Geddon. Geddon would be the worst outcome, right? Because then he has to kill it.
He had to kill it regardless, unless it didn't have enough power to kill him.
Sure.
Finds a 10-drop, matching 7/5s, but Nixlay is going to come out on top. That, I believe, is the first sweep that we have seen on camera today, and it is on.
Funny about the situation is that Stormwatcher happens to be statted very well against Priest. 4/8 is very, very difficult to deal with. Just so much health, and the 4 attack, of course, is a curse for the Priest class. Orange picks up Hydrologist to potentially fill out the curve, and his big concern is whether or not he can set up a really good Spike Richie the next turn. Getaway Kodo, also not necessarily a bad pick, or maybe he wants to protect his minions more, either through Noble Sacrifice or get a really good trade through Repentance.
One of the awkward things here for Orange is that the Priest of the Feast does represent potentially
Best minion onto the board, even
Captain
though he doesn't
Priest
have a
gonna
very
get him.
Yeah. I guess you could use a weapon to kill the 2/3.
Get him.
Get him.
Get him.
Yeah.
Sure. I mean, he's in a position where he's against a 5/5, which he can't kill. So he's not able to keep the 5/5 off of killing one of his minions. The Crawler currently doesn't actually trade into anything, so it's not really a threat that's really worth sinking that much damage into. Yes, combined with, say, Holy Nova, it could kill something, but that's sort of at higher life than you. It's usually a bad sign.
True. But, you know, it's kind of the Pirate Warriors' due diligence to try to play it out and see how close they can get to it. I mean, just look at the burst from Orange right now. He's got Arcanite Reaper number 2, South Sea Deck, and a Heroic Strike. So that's 9-11 that he could do this turn, putting his opponent down at 9 potentially. If he picks up another Heroic Strike, it's 5, 9, 13, 15. Wow, he still gets really close, despite his opponent has greater healing push. If he didn't have it, Orange would be still
Playing one of the alternate hero portraits with a playing for Death Knight. Like I went from Tyrande into Anduin. This is just peculiar.
It's a video game, Brian.
Listen, flavor matters, okay? I actually
My immersion. Really? I know what you mean. I know what you mean because I felt the same. I was like, oh, maybe we get like Death Knight Tyrande. It's like, well, you know, at the same time, it's because you're channeling the energy of the Death Knight.
I would actually always play like with Medivh as my hero as a mage because it was always entertaining to me when I played Medivh as Medivh. But now that I'm playing decks that have Jaina Frostlich, I'm like, well,
It is pretty ridiculous here. Jarl is slowly but surely running out of his biggest threats. Yow. Wow.
well that kills Tyrion and develops the Void form ability. Though now Tyrande is just going to turn into Anduin.
Pretty much the right answer at the right time. And I think this is the beginning of the end here for Jarl. Like, as much as you can try to hang into this game, I mean...
Today, we're covering everyone, everywhere, and everything in Hearthstone's Europe region. With 24 countries lighting hearths for the first event of the HCT summer season. Through 6 rounds of Swiss today and 1 more tomorrow, our star-studded field of 78 players will whittle themselves down until only the most worthy remain. At stake, a trip to Los Angeles and a spot at the Summer Championships. Pull up a chair by the fire, my friends. This is the European Summer Playoffs.
3 damage, so with the Primordial Drake.
Actually, it's almost lethal damage for Yarla next turn. If you were to just attack his minions into the Hydra, play the Primordial Drake, that's 9 damage, 12 with his weapon. If Orange were to attack first with the Hydra, which he pretty much certainly won't, now he'd actually get killed.
Yeah. Or if he attacked with his weapon first and didn't hero power.
Get down!
They're not first timers, maybe not as well known, but they're both doing really well so far in the going into round 4.
Yeah, 3-0 records for each of them, as you can see there. Espamito has had quite a couple finishes for him. He actually took 2nd place in DreamHack Summer 2017, where he lost to Orange in the finals, who we just saw play. And he also took 3rd, 4th place in the Legendary Series Katowice in 2016 as well.
Yeah, that had a big open qualifier leading up to the LAN finals. So that was sort of a little bit of his breakout. He didn't do much after that.
Let's move quickly.
And go for it. I don't think these minions are worth protecting.
This is a tough play to make.
Oh, man.
He's going to risk it.
Oh, man.
50-50 Kodo. No dice.
And that's Alexstrasza. If he gets an ice block down.
Well, here's the thing. Espamito just saw Hunter Ace not able to kill him. Is he free to simply play Alexstrasza this turn and force Hunter Ace on the defensive?
Ice block and Iceberger guaranteed.
It costs Pyroblast, it's 11 or less. Still no Forbidden Healings drawn for Hunter Ace.
Yeah.
That is a crucial draw right now.
Yeah. Now I think Espamito pinging one of these high health minions is on his radar.
How about Blizzard?
To call it home free for Hunter Ace.
Reporting for duty.
No dice. And Espamito going to take it 3 games to 2.
Wow.
This came down to the wire, and in the end, that minor discount on Pyroblast is a world of difference.
Wow. 2 insanely close mage games.
Find a way through, but now Ostkaka calls his bluff, refuses to take the challenge, and KC sees no better choice here than a 50-50 brawl to try and stay in the game. A Hydra is victorious. KC has no way out. That is a super quick first game for Ostkaka, who throws out the classic Pirate Warrior salutation.
I like it, to be honest, because again, I'm not saying this is definitely what Ostkaka's thinking. Ostkaka may not know this. He might do, he may not. But Casey's just come off a loss, right?
Yeah.
So, and Ostkaka's just come off a string of wins. If you've just, like, got someone like that, for the want of an emote, I can't believe it's all going this wrong. Finja, there's not a lot you can do about Finja, especially because often this setup means that Finja can get a kill.
Yes.
More often than not. This is just going from bad to worse. And there's even now with the rock pool. Never mind. Enough.
Ostkaka, please!
I can't help but laugh. I'm sorry, I'm just
You're
like
such
giggling
a
down the
well-managed
mic.
boy! What has come of you, Ostkaka?
Turns out Wind Fury's pretty good on that card.
I mean, color me convinced.
And sold as Ostkaka takes a very, very
ways to shut off that card draw. So things like Curator is huge to be able to finish that quest.
Yeah, Nixley taking up this Curator off of an early Stonehill defender, recognizing he needs to accelerate that quest progress.
No!
That's the risk of a Shadow Essence when you have Doomsayer in your deck.
If you let this go, would you even dare silence your own Doomsayer?
Silence it. I mean, you can.
Huh.
He does not. He chooses to keep the silence in his hand. Wants to just clear the board here. This is kind of interesting.
I mean,
I wonder if Nick
steals something with it, but you're absolutely right. That is it. Boom. Pavel's going to take game 3, and this one was very, very close.
Oh, he doesn't see it. He pinged his own guy.
He still can do it.
Well, now that he drew that, it's still available, I think.
Yeah. See, Pavel, listen. We're here playing.
He's got it now. He's got
We're
it now.
here
He's
playing
remaining
Hearthstone, and Pavel's here playing 10-dimensional nuclear astrophysics. His ways are not our ways.
He knew
Get
the
on
radiant
his
elemental
level.
was there.
Get
He
on
just
his
knew it was
level.
there.
Wait, does he have enough time? I feel like. Maybe it's just. The summer playoffs for the European region. If you guys are just tuning in, Pavel's currently up 2-1 over Nixley. 2 players who we've seen on the tour. One player, a world champion, another person playing the upset. If he can do it, he's down 1-2 in Nixley.
You just gonna give it up?
This year I was even closer. I was 2-0 up. Also won series before the World Championship.
RDU can almost taste a semi-final berth.
At 2-0, obviously, I felt like I'm like 95% to win the series, and I was already feeling a winner. But like, you're never a winner until you win the series. So like, I was still having it in my mind. Okay, I still need to play really well.
And it's just one game left to decide which of these players moves on to the World Championship.
I think I still had the chance until like almost the last turn of the last game of the series. So it was like super close down to the wire.
RDU is staring at the end.
RDU, I know, is a player who's actively worked to slow himself down in a lot of games. Early on, he played so fast, it was unreal. And lately, as the tournament started to hold more weight with him, you could tell that he would slow down in really critical spots. And what a drop from Fireland's Portal. 11 damage delivered this turn.
That's insane.
And that was from Primordial Glyph.
That might just lock up the game just that alone. He was still in need of some burn if he was going to win this game. That changes just about everything, because now he's got lethal over 2 turns, unless Juristus can find healing, and he's got. And now he doesn't even have to use the Shadow Word Warrior. That's what that Worgen Infiltrator allowed him to do. It allowed him to save that resource for a little bit later on. But he's going to be punished for it. There's going to be a bunch of 3-drops. Let's see what Juristus can pull out from the throne. Wow. Wow!
That's a lot of stuff.
Those are 3 of the best 3-drops in the game.
Well, RDU's got Cabal Shadow Priest for the 2/8 if he wants, so he can take that straight away. He's got decent combat on the board otherwise. This actually might, I think, for Inner to really recover from a blow like this.
How's he supposed to kill 4 giant Mastodons?
Not.
2 Blood of the Ancient Ones.
How many decks are built to equip, or are equipped to deal with that much at one time?
Or how about a Mare Noggenfogger?
Well, now the activation of Thrall is at random. He can just evolve the wrong minion.
That's bizarre.
5,000 retweets, maybe?
Let the pain speak to me.
Nice one.
Let's roll the dice.
Oh, man.
You are on fire.
Well, how about we draw a card?
It's better than nothing, but
I guess.
Mayor Noggenfogger he's a weird guy.
I mean, how do you even navigate this? Just build us and jam it all to face. Yeah, he doesn't have to. Nobody tells me about what player to do.
Must be chosen.
My question is, does Fabelli know that the targets have to be legal targets? How often do you think he's even encountered this?
Not very often.
These don't seem quite as random as you may expect. Yeah, and as TJ said, they still do have to be legal.
Did he forget?
There's a chance that Fabelli was not paying close enough attention to
He popped
Primordial
both
Glyph cards.
blocks. And Primordial Glyph did pull a secret earlier, but it was an ice barrier, and it's already been chewed through.
Does he remember that? Did he forget that that ice barrier is from Primordial Glyph?
Yeah, but look at the mana count. There's 1 mana remaining. What in the world?
Fabelli he missed the tracking on this.
All he has to do is look at the mana count to rule out that Primordial Glyph.
Be chosen.
Because he knows he just played a Blizzard last turn. Maybe he thought there was a Blizzard ping plus a 1 mana secret. That could have been going through his mind. Maybe he wasn't keeping track earlier and thought one of those 3 mana ice blocks was a 1 mana ice block. That's bizarre. Still get Cork on a leaf.
It's time for a lot of blood.
That's just a blunder.
Oh my.
You require my assistance.
There's no way.
There's no way.
There's no way.
If he doesn't develop something on this board or make one of these minions not vulnerable to a fireball to be killed, Inner could come back, because next turn he just chains a fireball into 2 of these minions and then trades into the 3rd.
Yeah, he's got to devolve the Antonidas. I don't really think he has much of an option where that's concerned. The problem with that is it's giving Inner a 6-drop. Can the 6-drop and the fireball or the 6-drop plus the Frostlich Jaina bring Inner back into this game?
What 6-drop could he get that could protect himself, his life total enough?
I think it's something with Taunt.
Yeah, but there's not many.
Sunwalker.
Ornery Direhorn. Thing from below.
Ancient Blossom doesn't work. Gets crushed by that 8/6.
I mean, almost all of them get crushed by it. I don't think there's a single 6-mana minion in the game that... Whoa!
Whap, whap.
Must be chosen.
Well, that's about as good as it gets if you're going to devolve an Archmage Antonidas.
I mean, to be honest, Inner was given a second chance that he arguably shouldn't have been given.
Shall I strike?
That's game.
Yep, it's going to lock things up. Fabelli, though, very fortunate that he had that devolve handy, because that would have been a disaster.
Oh, yeah. That is not a misstep you can afford to make.
Nope, especially when you're 3-1. 3-2 is a whole heap of a lot worse than 4-1.
Yeah.
And Fabelli...
Really want to dedicate 7 damage to killing a spell damage minion in Priest? Like, how scared are you, really, of spell damage? Casey said not too much, and it's ended up coming back to bite him over and over. There's the Ongoro pack. Ridiculous amounts of value, but here is Auctioneer. 1 prep was already used early. This has to be an insane chain of preparations.
Oh.
And just like the proverbial London bus, you wait forever for 1 and then 2 come along at once. Auctioneer's way too late to the party there. Casey drew a good percentage of threats for how much of his deck that he got through, but he wasn't able to explode them one after the other because he didn't have that velocity through his deck that comes from through your deck very quickly with Rogue. Casey was just unable to do that. The Auctioneer just wasn't there. He cycled Fan of Knives, Shiv. He was trying to dig through as hard as he possibly could. Blood Mage came down, but the Auctioneers were just absolutely buried.
And we're going to be moving on to game number 2. Tyler 1-0 up versus his Complexity teammate Casey. And there's just a bit of a smile from both players as the emotes are traded across the screen there. Speaking of Tyler's Mage deck, we've seen a lot of Casey's N'Zoth Warrior. Tyler's Mage, first thing I looked at, does he have double violence? He does. Good. Subtle approved. Garrosh is going to come down now.
Good timing for this, honestly, because he is about to jam N'Zoth again in the very near future, which means the lack of his now armor up hero power is going to be mitigated very quickly by the huge pile of mountain fire armors that he's going to pick up
and
very
I think
soon.
this has to be Fyland's Frostbolt face. Gibble's favorite card.
Yeah.
So I've been told. Yeah, and now you don't, because you don't care if the minion gets hit, right? You Frostbolt face there to stop the Shadowmon killing your 5-drop, but that 5-drop is
in fact, Nobusak is a little better because you can just attack into the 2/2 and just allow that to redeem first, and then you can attack into the 2/2. But I guess Nobusak does the same thing. Yeah, they're pretty much the same.
Stonehill. Is this the Stonehill it needs? It is a huge one. No Lich King. Sorry, something I really like to force myself to say. I always call the Lich King Arthas. It is his name. Reductions is 3/3s. I mean, what does this realistically do?
Stick some 10/10s in the deck.
Okay, what does this realistically do positive for time? Does he draw, what, half his deck? Close to? Or like get to through half his deck?
18 cards, 12 left.
So this glyph is going to be very telling that the options aren't good. Frostbolt with Shatter, although kind of haha, can kill a giant.
Yes.
Mirror Entity can force Casey to play something a little bit weaker if he has it. This is tough though. The decision here for Tyler, I think he wanted either maximum burn or like Meteor, Polymorph, something. Because he knows Casey has these cards